My first assignment was with Vogue. Were publishing a magazine called Vogue Children, and that's where I started working as a photographer and also working in the world of children. As a father, I had my kids and the world of children at home. But I began to find photographs, doing photography of children, very exciting because it was very natural. And that's one of the reasons that I got the assignment. They weren't set up in studios, but rather kids playing, running, turning around, blurred. And that to me is what was most exciting, that intuitive photography. You don't know what that kid is going to do, and suddenly he'll do something that's totally outrageous and you got it, because you're not expecting the kid to do something. And that's something I learned with what Picasso said. I do not search, I find. And I find that if you're looking for something specific, you're going to walk by wonderful things. I used to work with an artist called Freddie Brenner. He was a men's fashion illustrator. His wife was Bobby Brenner, who wrote children's books. And one day she asked me, George, I have an idea for a children's book in which we could use photographs instead of drawings. What do you think? I said, well, it's interesting. I've always been curious about entering worlds that I didn't know, so I said, well, let's try it. So I started to take some pictures, and she showed it to the editor, and they loved it. Then we thought of another book called Bodies, and again, Bobby wrote the text and I did the photography. And when we turned that book in, the editor said, George, why don't you try writing? Writing? I don't know how to write. You know, I can photograph, you know, I can draw. Writing, I don't know. But George, if you were to do the text, you'd get the other 50% of the royalty. Oh, well, all right. So I wrote a book called Monsters on Wheels about trucks, something that fascinated me. I always, as a kid, would love to watch these derricks and backhoes and huge trucks. So this gave me an opportunity to do all these childhood things that I was curious about. So I did the book, and they published it. And then I did another one, and I'm still going. So I try to balance my work between collaborating with a writer and doing the writing myself. And so I guess I'm a writer. My personal connection to capoeira was my wife. She's Brazilian, and we would go to Brazil to visit the family and travel around. And the first time I went to Salvador, I was on the streets, and it's in the book, and there was that scene of these young men playing at capoeira, doing the somersaults and leaps and dives, and it was awesome. And eventually I went to New York, and then I went to California, and in Oakland I found a wonderful academy with a terrific multicultural academy of kids, and I asked the master if I could come and just hang out, and he said fine, and that's how the book got to be. I discovered the wonderful dignity that evolves from playing capoeira. A child learns to become aware of his or her surroundings. It's an awareness of other people, how other people think. But in capoeira you learn, you're very conscious of looking into someone's eyes and judging or getting a sense of what that person is doing. Because capoeira isn't only a physical art, but it's also something that develops your wits, your awareness, and your quick response to somebody. You have to know who you're playing with. And isn't that what we have to do in life? Whether it's talking to a bus driver or a teacher or a colleague or your parents, you become aware. And I think that's the greatest thing that I saw in the playing of capoeira. I hope that kids have an awareness of an experience of other people's lives, We're all different in this world, and yet we're all very similar. And I think in terms of capoeira, what I was talking about, first of all, fun, the excitement of being able to express yourself with your entire body. I think we grew up so rigid, or rigidly, and if we are physical, it's competitive. And I think because capoeira is a dance, it's also a means of expression. And I found that by going to dance academies or dance studios, that kids are much more aware and unafraid of just kicking their heels up, just being exuberant. And I think that's wonderful. And I hope that the kids who see capoeira will get excited about trying it, trying this combative. It is a martial art, but it is also a dance. And I think it's a wonderful way to reach out to other people.